A pleasant day, everyone, especially to our professor, Mrs. Chit Orjanes, and to our fellow classmates. Today, we are going to discuss one of the famous astronomers that we have known, and also he is known as the father of science. Let us now discuss about Galileo Galilei.
Let us now proceed to Galileo Galilei's biography. Galileo is an Italian physicist and astronomer born on Pisa on February 15, 1564 and died on the 8th of January 1642. His parents were Vincenzo Galilei and Giulia Amanati. Moreover, when he was born there was no such thing as science. Yet, by the time he died, science was well known on its way to becoming a discipline, and its concept and method a complete philosophical system. Galileo was very close with a beautiful woman from Venice named Marina Gamba. Together, they had 2 daughters and a son, yet never married nor shared a home. That is because, as Dava Sobel notes, it was traditional for scholars in those days to remain single. Perceived class difference may also have played a role. In 1572, when Galileo Galilei, at the age of 8, his parents returned to Florence, leaving Galileo to his mother's relative, Muzio Tetaldi, for 2 years. When he reached the age of 10, he left Pisa to join his family in Florence, and there he was tutored by Jacopo Borghini. Galileo worked as a private mathematics tutor around Florence and Siena and cultivated the support of leading mathematicians. He worked as a private tutor as he needed to support his family after his father died.
For Galileo's educational background, his parents sent him to the Camaldolese monastery at Vallombrosa. The Camaldolese order was independent of the Benedictine order, splitting from it at about 1012. The order combined the solitary life of the hermit with the strict life of the monk, and the soon young Galileo found this life an attractive one. He became a novice or isang baguhan, intending to join the order, but this did not please his father, who had already decided that his eldest son should become a medical doctor. Galileo enrolled to do a medical degree at the University of Pisa, but never finished, instead choosing to study mathematics.
In scientific discoveries, Galileo opened the eyes of the world about the workings of our solar system and astronomy in general. He contributed in physics, astronomy, cosmology, mathematics, and philosophy. He also introduced experimentation into science, laying the foundation of science as we know today. His detailed study of motion and his method of expressing natural events mathematically opened the way to Newton's discovery of universal gravitation. Galileo's observations strengthened his belief in Copernicus' theory, sun-centered theory, that Earth and all other planets revolve around the sun. Galileo supports Copernicus' theory, which is the heliocentric theory. As Galileo observed for the first time, Venus, just like the moon, goes through a full series of phases. Beginning from thin crescent, it gradually waxes to a full disk and then wanes again to a crescent before disappearing altogether, after which the cycle begins again. Galileo began his critique of Aristotle in his treatise titled De Motu, which means on motion. In his treatise De Motu, Galileo challenged Aristotle's view of terrestrial matter and motion. He argued that there was only one principle of motion, heaviness, and bodies moved because they were displaced by heavier bodies moving downward. This was a significant departure from Aristotle's theory of 4 elemental kinds and dual principles of heaviness and lightness, marking a crucial step in the transition from ancient to modern scientific thought.
So now, we're going to discuss about the inventions of Galileo Galilei. In the spring of 1609, he heard that in the Netherlands, an instrument had been invented that showed distant things as though they were nearby. So, may nakarating sa kanyang balita at napag-alaman niya na mayroong na-inventong isang bagay. At ito nga ay yung spyglass, kung saan pag ginamit natin ng spyglass ay makakakita tayo ng mga bagay na nasa malayo at makikita natin ito ng malapitan. By trial and error, he quickly figured out the secret of the invention and made his own 3-powered spyglass from lenses for sale in spectacle maker shops. So, nag-trial and error si Galileo Galilei. And he used his knowledge in mathematics and technical skills to improve upon the spyglass and build a telescope. So, dito na nga nag-come up sa kanya na makapag-build up ng isang telescope kung saan gumamit siya ng spyglass na isang main reason kung ano ang bumubuo sa telescope. Later that same year, he became the first person to look at the moon through a telescope and make his first astronomy discovery. So, dito natin siya mas kilala sa paggamit ng telescope, and also, he is the inventor of this, kung saan una niya nakita na malapitan yung crater ng ating moon. And, using his telescope, he was also able to study Saturn, observe the phases of the Venus, and study the sunspots on the sun. So, yun nga, apakalaki na naging contribution ni Galileo kung saan na-invento nga niya yung telescope. And in 1610, he made observations of 4 objects surrounding Jupiter that behaved unlike stars. This turned out to be Jupiter's 4 largest satellite moons, Io, Callisto, Europa, and Ganymede. They were later renamed the Galilean satellites in honor of Galileo himself. So, ibinangalan itong mga satellites na ito ay kay Galileong pangalan. Dahil siya nga ay ino-honor, dahil siya nga ang nakadiskubre itong mga satellites ng Jupiter. And some authorities ascribe the invention of the pendulum clock to Galileo, while others credit Christian Huygens. This disagreement arises because Galileo first noted about 1583 the relative constancy of a pendulum's period, but Huygens created a clock in 1656 that relied on the movement of a pendulum at a truly constant rate. So, itong pag-aaral na ito ng pendulum ay nagmula kay Galileo, pero unang naka-imbento ng pendulum clock ay si Huygens noong 1656. But the content of its discovery is from Galileo noong 1583. And also, for trivia lang, hindi lang si Galileo ang first astronomer na nag-a-agree na ang Earth ang umiikot sa orbit ng Sun. But he is only the famous astronomer kung saan nagamit niya ang telescope, kung saan naging clearly yung kanyang pagde-disseminate, yung kanyang pagpapatunay na ang Earth talaga ang umiikot sa Sun at hindi ang Sun ang umiikot sa Earth. So he is the astronomer na clearly stated and nagbigay ng mas matibay na pag-oobserba gamit ang telescope.
For his philosophy, his abrasive and outspoken criticism of Aristotelian philosophy, and his obvious acceptance of the Copernican worldview, particularly in his dialogue concerning the two-chiefs world system, or ito yung book na nagdi-discuss sa 2 rival astronomical theories na according sa Ptolemaic, ang Earth is the center of the world, and according naman sa Copernican, Sun is immobile and the planets revolve around it. In 1616, he was summoned to Rome and warned not to teach or write about this controversial theory. But in 1632, believing that he could write on the subject if he treated it as a mathematical proposition, he published work on the Copernican system. It led him into a serious trouble with the Roman Catholic Church, which placed him under house arrest for the last 8 years of his life.
So now, we're going to discuss about the pre-mortem of Galileo Galilei. Early in 1616, Galileo was accused of being a heretic, a person who opposed church teachings. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya sumasang-ayon sa mga itinuturo ng simbahan. And in 1632, he published a book that stated, among other things, that the heliocentric theory of Copernicus was correct. He agreed to Copernicus, which is, ito yung paniniwala na ang Earth ang umiikot around the Sun at hindi ang Sun ang umiikot sa Earth. Then, Galileo was once called before the Inquisition and this time was found guilty of heresy. Heresy means kumakalaban. It means against. And next is Galileo was sentenced to life in prison in 1633.
In 1992, under Pope John Paul II, the Vatican issued an official statement admitting that it was wrong to have persecuted Galileo.
Galileo, buried between Michelangelo and Machiavelli, is said to have had his gravestone inscribed with the words, "But the earth does move."
So, here is the list of our references na mga pinagmulan ng aming mga impormasyon na inilahad sa inyo. And for today, ito lamang ang mga nais naming bahagi sa inyo na kaalaman about kay Galileo. And we're now ready for the question and answer. Thank you very much!